Fatima, thank you for the very warm welcome and introduction, and thank you, Tim, as well, for really opening the conference this morning. And let me just start by thanking you for the invitation to come here today, but also just to wish you all well, because, I'm really struck by the energy and enthusiasm that's in the room this morning at the start of the conference. And I have no doubt, in terms of the themes and the issues you discuss, there'll be so many areas that you'll all pick up enthusiastically and take back and apply within your organisations and look at many of the challenges that we need to collectively address together. I also really just want to pay tribute to Bond. This is a very, very important conference. I look forward to working with Bond. We have great dialogue, great relationship already. But in particular, I look forward to working with the new Chief Executive, Tasmin Brown, as well. Because this is such an important sector, and rightly so. This is quite a momentous time, I think, for the sector as well. So, look, I take the view that our civil society organisations are absolutely crucial to the outstanding work that you all do, and in fact, the work that we all do when it comes to the battle against extreme poverty and delivering on the Sustainable Development Goals. And it's your organisations, and it's the people who are at the heart of your organisations as well, who are the ones that are day in, day out, working in, quite frankly, what are some of the most challenging places on earth to ensure that no one in the world is left behind. And on top of that, your organisations do something that I'm experiencing more and more of when I'm travelling and when I go into countries too, which is robustly defending the rights of civil society that are increasingly under attack in what are, quite frankly, uncertain and very difficult and challenging times in some parts of the world. And so wherever I have been, I have seen at first hand the quite remarkable work of civil society groups, organisations and people in some of the most challenging countries in the world, but importantly, standing up for the very rights that we cherish. And so Bond and civil society organisations that you all represent here are an important part of what I think is really the UK's leadership in the world, but also our global offer when it comes to international development and also civil society. And I think actually increasingly now, it's never been clearer to me that in times of crisis and in times of great change, which is what we're seeing, the world actually looks to us all. It looks to Britain. Not just for support in difficult times, not just for support when it comes to fundraising and tackling crises, but also to global leadership. And of course, that, in my view, is underpinned by our very, very important and clear and unequivocal commitment to UK aid. And that is a commitment which means that the UK is not only meeting the world's basic humanitarian needs, but importantly dealing with the root causes of many of the global problems that we are seeing. A commitment which shows UK aid, along with our world-class defence and diplomacy, acting not only in the interests of the world's poorest, but also in our national interests as well. And global leadership, where our influence and ability to save lives in an ever-changing world is a part of who we are as a nation. Now, I believe in a truly vibrant and diverse civil society, and that's one of the things that, as far as I'm concerned, is what makes this country great, reflecting the British values of fairness and compassion for others. And I think, that is why it's so good to see that there are so many international counterparts here today as well, because that working together is crucial to the values that we all share and the values that we champion around the world. And so today I'd really like to just take the opportunity to set out, yes, some of my key priorities when it comes to UK development, but also, and equally important, our plans to enhance and strengthen our work with the sector and look at how we can partner with some of the smaller charities in the UK as well. But I think if I can just start with some of the priorities that I'm focused on. When it comes to the state of the world, I think we just really have to, look at what we are confronted with day in, day out. There is an unprecedented humanitarian challenge, and Tim spoke about this earlier on. But effectively, what we are seeing is that more than 20 million people across 4 countries in the world face starvation and famine, and at least 1.4 million children could starve to death just this year. We know the countries. It's Yemen, Northeast, Nigeria, Somalia, South Sudan. They are the ones that stand on the precipice of disaster right now. But on top of this, we still have the plight of Syria and the Syrian people following the 6th anniversary of that conflict last week, with, of course, still no end to the bloodshed that is taking place. But, while we are here at this conference today, the people that we are speaking about are in desperate need of support, food and water. And I think one of the greatest things that we've been able to do, of course, collectively, and not just the government, but through the partnership work that we are all undertaking, is that we have been able to act fast. We have been able to scale up and desperately get food and water and emergency health services to the millions of sick and starving people who are in such desperate need. And we are able to do this because of the work that you all do, and because of our strong partnership, the government's strong partnership with our partners, the trusted NGOs who are critical, absolutely critical for the delivery of that life-saving humanitarian support to people on the ground. We've also seen the incredible generosity of the British public to the DEC appeal, and I think it's been a very humbling appeal when we look at the amount of money that has been raised in such a short period of time. But I think we should also remember that the very people who are giving this money also want to know that their support is getting through to those that need it. And this is where you all have such an important role and such a strong voice to play. We need you to make that happen as well. While we have led the response in terms of the humanitarian crisis, we must also reflect upon the fact that we as a country, Britain cannot do this alone. We need to mobilise the world to respond and to act now. I'm doing this in terms of pressing other governments, the UN and international agencies to do exactly that. But of course, we need to do that collectively. We all need to speak with one voice. And the metaphor that I'm using right now, we need to get out a really, really big megaphone, stand behind it and speak with one voice and use our powerful voices to be heard along with all the groups that you represent to raise the visibility of these crises and call for greater action. But as we tackle these emergency humanitarian crises, we cannot forget the ever-present emergency of grinding poverty, the misery and disease that leads to the untold waste of human potential. And so when I speak of my priorities, this is absolutely what I and what DFID are focused on doing, to reach those who've been left the furthest behind. So we will continue to invest in people in the world, implementing our manifesto commitments on health, education, nutrition, water, sanitation, and helping to deliver the global goals for the world's poorest and those who are excluded. Many of you have heard me speak about this already, but we will do more to tackle neglected tropical diseases. We will strengthen our work on TB and the growing threat of resistance to diseases that prove a real danger to all of us, to everyone on the planet. We have also, in DFID, focused and launched our first economic development strategy. We are totally focused on boosting the prospects of poor countries when it comes to job creation, making sure that we can harness trade, growth and investment to boost the collective aspirations and growth of developing nations by helping countries to defeat poverty and to stand on their own 2 feet. We will also strengthen our work on disability. Disability is shamefully the most under-prioritised and under-resourced area in development. But of course, we can't do this on our own, and that is where we need your help, the help of your organisations to change that and to make a significant difference. And of course, on top of that, we will continue to champion and take our leadership position to new levels when it comes to women and girls, putting them at the heart of everything we do. And in fact, as our Prime Minister said on International Women's Day, addressing gender equality and supporting women's rights is not a nice to have, it's absolutely essential. And this summer, DFID will be hosting an international summit to secure, but actually to go further when it comes to our renewed commitment to family planning services, with a particular focus on the poorest and the most vulnerable women and girls. So that is only an overview. I mean, as I said, when you look at the state of the world, we all know there is a lot to do and so much to do. And it is only a snapshot of my priorities just for the coming year alone. But across all of this work, I see civil society in all its forms as key partners and allies in delivering this, but so much more. And so I'm determined to robustly defend the rights of civil society that, as I said, are under attack in these uncertain times. We will increase our efforts and support right across government for core civic freedoms that importantly create the space for democracy, progress and dialogue, which of course are essential for an effective and open civil society, because these are so essential for the development of the very poorest countries, the very poor countries that we are seeking to help and support. So while enhancing our existing relationships with our trusted civil society partners, I will also look to create new opportunities more widely across the sector. And as part of that, I believe that smaller organisations are crucial to Britain when it comes to our offer on international development. And I know that today here there are many, many, many small charities who are represented here, making up a key part of Bond's membership. And your organisations are found across our great country, in our towns and in our villages, often run by volunteers and are highly valued and trusted by our local communities. And often it's your organisations that are making some of the most direct connections with the very people that we're all trying to help and the very people that we are working for and wanting to help them. Your organisations are highly effective at building trust within local communities. And importantly, because of your size and your agility, you're able to tailor your specialist services around the very people and communities that we want to help and their day-to-day needs. Organisations such as Exeter Ethiopia Link, who help thousands of children with disabilities go to school in Ethiopia by providing access to wheelchairs through training for teachers and support for parents. Organisations like Lamb Healthcare Foundation from Reading, who are improving access to effective sexual and reproductive health services for adolescents in Bangladesh. DFID is supporting those two organisations, and they're just only a snapshot of the small organisations who we are working with, but importantly, who we will be doing much more work with. And I know that for the most part, smaller charities have not really had enough of an opportunity to work with DFID. And that is what I am changing, because I want to ensure that we have a stronger partnership, a more effective partnership with smaller charities. And that is why today I'm delighted to announce a new Small Charities Challenge Fund specifically for small UK registered charities with an annual income of less than £250,000. This is the first time that DFID has set up a fund dedicated purely to charities of this side. I take the view that Britain boasts an extraordinary number of small grassroots charities and organisations who quite frankly do amazing and often highly innovative work in some of the poorest places in the world. And I take the view that this fund is there to help the best of our smaller charities to expand and deliver even more effectively for the world's poorest. Further details of this fund will follow in the coming months. But as well as opening up new funding opportunities, I also want to support small and medium-sized organisations by supporting your drive to raise standards and increase effectiveness when it comes to financial management, governance and due diligence. This is really fundamental when it comes to delivering better for the world's poorest, and fundamental to ensuring public trust and confidence, as well as legitimacy in terms of everything that we do. We, DFID, civil society, and in fact the whole of the global aid system, need to effectively secure our licence to operate. And in my view, we will visibly do that by delivering better results for the world's poorest and value for money when it comes to taxpayers, but importantly, demonstrating to those that do not necessarily believe in the purpose and the value of international aid what we are doing and why we are doing it. Now, I know all of you take this seriously, and I applaud all your efforts in everything that you are doing here. But I do take the view that we need to go further, and I want to support everyone in making sure that we can make that happen. So today I am announcing plans for a new partnership between DFID and the Charity Commission and the sector, which will provide support to strengthen small and medium-sized organisations, the skills and capabilities when it comes to managing humanitarian and development projects overseas. Under this partnership, DFID will work with the Charity Commission and help to fund them and other key partners to provide a range of tailored training, including key areas such as governance, financial management, the delivery chain, due diligence, cost effectiveness, and of course transparency. The Charity Commission will work with all organisations to build your skills and capabilities when it comes to handling public money and managing projects, and ultimately reducing the burdens and the cost of due diligence when you apply for funding. I also believe with your full support there is potential here to do something really powerful in terms of ensuring public trust, but also growing that public support for development and what we do. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, the challenges facing the international aid system in the 21st century, I think it's fair to say, go beyond anything that we have witnessed before. There is no question that the scope and the scale of what we are trying to do is more wider and more complex than we've seen before. But if you look at the world today, it is very clear that there is no task more urgent than defeating poverty. Britain's fantastic civil society has really such a crucial and essential role to play. And as I have set out, my department will continue not just to work closely with you, but to work with you to drive and to learn from each other going forward. Of course, I think we all know, and I think probably the 2 days of this conference will demonstrate to all of us that the stakes are high, not just for the poorest people in the world, but also for all of us, and especially in terms of how we work together. I think this is actually a laudable challenge, and it's one that we can all rise up to and step up to by working together collectively. Thank you very much.